Yeah, you watch video and then you blow it.
Hey everybody, we're here for a new episode of RLG Cast Reviews. Today we're talking Thunderbolts. I'm here with Putty the Puttyman. We have not talked at all about this. I
Mm-mm.
made sure that there was zero discussions about this before watching this episode. He doesn't even know that I made sure about that, but I did. We're gonna do
Okay.
a little bit of spoiler free. We'll give you a score and then we'll talk spoilers. So if you want spoilers, we'll stay till the end. We'll tell you when it's gonna be time. And Putty's gonna tell you what Thunderbolts is about.
Okay. I get to be the one to talk about it. Okay. So
You're
Thunderbolts
always the
is a
one that
wrestling.
has to do it.
Yeah, anyway. Okay. So Thunderbolts, okay, so first and foremost, if you want to get a little bit of a comparison, is Suicide Squad, but I think better. Anyway, it is a ragtag group, I can't say the word, of misfits heroes or vigilantes or anti-heroes that all mixed up between Black Widow and a bunch of the Disney Plus shows and of course Ant-Man and the Wasp and yeah, I think I got them all at this point and everything. But and they're all coming together as a group called the Thunderbolts and trying to be the new it team, but they're, not the it team. That makes sense.
Well, they're definitely not trying. One of them is. Um, yeah, that was a pretty good description. I would say in terms of movie wise, like just to set the tone here for where we're going, this is like a better version of Suicide Squad. Like
Yeah.
I know you
Hmm.
mentioned that. I don't think this team is better than Suicide Squad, like
Mm-mm.
the actual Suicide Squad as like a comic book or whatever. I think is far better than Thunderbolts, even the existence of Thunderbolts at all. However, I do think this movie is everything that a Suicide Squad movie should have been.
Hmm. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, see, it's funny, and I don't know if you noticed it, at least the beginning part, it felt like it was a nice tone of both Suicide Squad movies, where it took the best of both of those movies and made it into this movie. Am I right or wrong in saying that?
I got the vibes of it, but I didn't necessarily think that's what for sure what it was. I like the
Well, just
first
right now, I'd say that.
the first act of this movie is structured so well. It's arguably the best first act I've ever seen in a Marvel movie. I was ready to be like, wow, this is the best Marvel movie ever made. Like legitimately, I hit
Right.
a point where I was like, I cannot believe the way that they're structuring the story and character growth, and they're doing it in a way where it's like it's all over one day type of thing.
Hmm.
Like it's really intimate and there's a lot of like development that happens and it feels organic and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. The performances are really good and the comedy's
Hmm.
really good. And then the second act, it gets a little weird, but it was like it became more Suicide Squad-y and it was really entertaining. And then I think they absolutely blow it in the third act. I think that
It's
this
funny. Yeah, it's funny you say that because the third act is where I think the third act is where a lot of people are actually getting excited. And for me, I was like, "Ooh, this is kind of taking me out of it." I understand what they're doing, and we're talking about the same thing, right?
yeah, well,
You know
I
what I'm
mean,
referring to.
we'll get into spoilery spoilers when we go to that section, but I think yeah, there's a message throughout this movie that it's not subtle at all, but it works. And then in the third act, it's just ham-fisted. It's like constantly just
Yeah.
slapping you in the face with it, and you're like, "What am I watching?" And
Hmm.
I'm not saying at the end of the day I would say this is a it became a bad movie, but it's like you went from arguably the best Marvel movie to like slowly deteriorating to just like the wheels fell off at the end. And I was like, I wasn't quite sure how you had such a slow burn roll build up and then like without giving spoilers it doesn't really go anywhere. You get towards the
Oh,
end and you're just kind of like okay, like there's
well,
more
okay.
payoff in the end credits than there are during the actual film itself.
Well, let me put it this way. Um, when it gets to the point of the third act, it feels like if we were watching The Winter Soldier. Okay, I mean not Winter Soldier, but Captain America, not
Yeah.
Civil War, but yeah. Anyway, um, when Bucky came in and everything, I just lost track of what I was going to actually say now. Um, but when Bucky came in, it was a much different. I don't want to say vibe. How am I explaining it? Now keep going because I lost track of what I was talking about, what we were
Well,
into.
I
Because
thought I thought his introduction was awesome, but the tone of the movie completely shifts at that point.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, okay. I was saying about this, like in the movie, if you took basically that second Captain America movie, and midway point before you got to the sky scene with the building,
Hmm.
it would be like you're doing. Then you just suddenly plug in a end credit scene or like a promotion for something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like that's how it felt in this momentum. Was like we went from having a really solid movie just like The Winter Soldier,
yeah,
and then
yeah. Go,
you get what
keep
I'm
going.
saying? Yeah, yeah.
It
And then when you got to that last scene, it just went to that other
it's not
direction.
even the last scene. There's such a build there, and it's not even like it's like the pacing is fast and then it slows down, or the pacing is like because the pacing's not fast in the beginning. It's just a really well told build up of characters
Hmm.
and relationships and story arc and where the Marvel universe is trying to go here. It's like it keeps piling up, it's piling up, and you're like, okay, this
Hmm.
is going great. And then it hits a weird point where it starts undercutting all of the serious moments with comedy, which I thought the comedy was actually probably the best we've seen from Marvel in a long time. But it's
Right.
like they couldn't have a serious moment for the life of them because every time something serious happened, you'd have this big swell of music that would lead up to a joke, and you're like,
Yeah.
why do you keep doing this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it got to that final act. So they arrive in New York. This is not spoilers, and they meet the villain, I guess, if you want to call it that. And then from
Hmm.
there on, the bottom just falls out. It loses track of
Hmm.
where it's going. There's no
Hmm.
like climax for the movie. I left to go to the bathroom thinking, okay, we're building up to like what's going to be the big final situation, and came back and the movie was like like in 2 minutes after I came back, the movie ended. And I was like,
Hmm.
where's the ending? There's no ending to this movie. It just just like, all right, that's it. Credits.
Well, I mean, the you okay? See, it's all depending when you left and how long you were gone. Because the thing
We'll
is
talk about that in spoilers.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, because they did put a lot of stuff in there that the pacing I felt like after the battle was a good point of stopping. It was after the battle that what happened that made me go, oh, this took me like in a different direction. This wasn't what I thought this movie was gonna do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean it's
the acting is good. I
yeah.
think
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Julia Louis Dreyfus is great.
Mm,
There's I don't think there's any bad performances at all. I think Bob as a character is oddly written, but if anyone's ever read Squadron Supreme or whatever they're called, Supreme Squad, that's what it is, right?
no, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't read much of
Squadron Supreme.
Century.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's that's the origin story of Sentry. So basically, it's beat for beat. The idea is exactly the same. They
Yeah,
executed
I
it
heard that.
very
Yeah.
well, right? This is and that comic book was built around like an Elseworld story where he doesn't join the actual Marvel continuity until in the 90s. But in the 80s, there's Squadron Supreme, and in Sentry is one of the characters.
Wait,
They're kind of like a Suicide Squad.
is this like what? Was this like a comic book company like Malibu Comics or something like
No,
that?
this is
Or one of those?
Marvel. It's just
Oh,
he's
this was
not.
Marvel. Okay.
It's like an Elseworlds story type of
Well,
thing where he's not like main continuity. That's why
oh,
he's
okay.
so Sentry as a character. Which this is not spoilers because everyone knows he's in this movie. Sentry as a character is so OP because he was never planned to actually be in the universe. So Squadron Supreme is basically it's not a joke comic, but they're basically supposed to be poking fun at the Justice League, and Sentry is their
Hmm.
Superman character, right?
Yeah.
And then that so later down the line they introduced him into Marvel Comics main continuity, and
Hmm.
he is a really OP character. But I can see the reasoning for having that character in this movie because if you're going to introduce characters like Galactus in Fantastic Four, you need to
Hmm.
have someone of a Superman level, a power level, or you. What are you
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
do, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Exactly.
for me, the whole time I was like, I don't understand this character being part of this movie with ground level superheroes. The
Well, I
only
mean,
logic is because you need him later.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know. You can definitely tell they're trying to get the nostalgia feels of Infinity more in Endgame. They're going into that direction anyway, especially with this movie. because the battle world scenario, things like that, is kind of what's going on. I mean, I don't think that's any spoiler if if you're out
Yeah.
there, but just because comic book Secret World or Secret Wars. Anyway, um, my point to the whole thing is that you could tell with this movie that it's Marvel's fix. Like this is the point where they start fixing things. Because think about this,
Well, they tried to
the
do it if you watch a review,
well,
they tried to do it in Captain America and it made the movie an absolute mess.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think with Captain America in this, Captain America had such crucially bigger characters to try to bring in a character that's so iconic like Captain America, but it's someone wearing the new suit. They're gonna put him on the pedestal no matter who it is. You know what I mean? It's like Wolverine. It's like anyone like that. You know, when they play that role, you're gonna put them on that pedestal. Unless it's something small like War Machine's transition. You know what I mean? Then that's okay. Or Bruce Banner. Anyway, so my point to the whole thing is that we know some of these movies were kind of shifted around Disney Plus shows that were supposed to come up too at those points. Remember when this whole thing happened with COVID and all that kind of stuff? When all that stuff shifted, you could tell when storylines really had still some of those elements that they didn't know what to do with them, but they led into it already. Does that make sense? So because they did that, they shoehorned in things. This movie felt like it did a good job of saying, let's kind of verge back in and we could still give these stories to these about these characters but make it a cohesive story. And they did a good job, I think, in that way. You know what I mean? And only homework to me is actually the movies more than the shows, I think, in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's some small fixes I definitely would do to this. In terms of that, which is actually something I'd like to talk about in spoilers. So before we go there, I think, do you have anything else specifically non-spoilery you want to say?
Um, Not that I can think of. I will say, as far as targeting a storyline, in my eyes, when it comes to where it feels like if you're going to watch a movie before this, and only could do one, I think Black Widow is your best choice. And the reason for it
Yeah,
is because I feel like the storyline in this directly pulls from way more from Black Widow than any other of the episodes,
I agree.
only because, what I mean, of the cast they have. So,
I don't think you generally need to watch anything except Black Widow before this, to be honest with
yeah,
you.
yeah. If you would want to add more to your homework, you could do Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second movie, not Quantum Mania, the second one. You want to do
Falcon and
I
the
was
Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, yeah. And then there was one more that I can't think of right now. So there was Ghost, choosing Black Widow. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, and this was probably the easiest homework to do if you really wanted to go deep into it. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
works in that way.
All right, give it a score.
Okay, so because of the thing of the back end part, it did take me off a little bit. So I'm saying 8.7. Um, because what? Too high?
Yeah, but still, that's JD called him out and said he was going to give it a 9.8. I just want everyone to know that. So JD, suck it. All right.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Everything I love, like I love this movie, but the thing is, as far as like going back and sitting down and watching movies, you're always gonna have the ones you love that I hit my heart. And you know me, for example, I'm gonna put 9 for something like Deadpool because that's something I love. You know what I mean? I'm always gonna go back to that well just for myself. You know what I mean? This is a good movie. It leads into things I will watch it again. But from my perspective, especially that one part at the end, that kind of dropped the score for me. And when we get into spoilers, I'll explain why and everything. You know what I mean?
I would give this a solid like 6.2.
Oh
Six
wow,
point.
I didn't think you go that
That's
low
a lie. That's
actually.
a lie. That's a lie. 7.8, 7.7, 7.8. It's definitely worth watching. It's worth going to the theaters to see it legitimately.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go into spoilers now. Three, two, one. It's spoilers. So if that's all you wanted was the scores, take it. I think that this should have been a show. It could have used an extra 2 or 3 hours of character arc, and I would have liked like almost an entire or episode or two worth of them just exploring that like dream world in the void.
Okay, okay. They could have done that or at least had a few more minutes because of the whole new Avengers thing. That's the
Yeah.
thing that threw me off of the whole thing. Take that stuff out. You could take that off of there. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to quickly advance their Secret Wars, but you don't even have to make them be called Avengers. They could still be called, oh, they could even be called the New Avengers later on. It's just the thing is, we don't have to make it a celebration in this movie in order to make it a big deal because everyone else I've been seeing online is like, I'm so excited. I can't believe this. It's so amazing. I can't believe they're the new Avengers. And I'm like, that took me out because they're for me they no matter what they are the Thunderbolts. Here's the thing: if they want to consider them Avengers, they can, but they don't have to make a big prompt out. They can go into the next movie or Doomsday and be like, "Well, we wanted to make a consistency, and we called them New Avengers." You know what I mean? We have the Young Avengers and all those because they're setting that up as well, so they can have their own names and still call it New Avengers. You didn't have to make it a prompt like yay, parade, like we're watching some old 80s Batman movie, you know what I mean, with Joker celebrating something. You didn't need that fanfare. So that time could be spent to have a little more grace, like greatness in that battle, you know what I mean? And really, I feel like fulfill everything you could have
Well,
done with it.
that
You know what I
time is
mean?
like 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
So
mean, what with it,
I can't really agree with you there. Um, you could have just added more time onto the movie. I think
really it
that, yeah, because that section of time when they become new
really
Avengers
is just
is
1 minute.
literally a minute and 30 seconds of screen
So
time.
then, so then it must have bothered me that much because it felt like it took forever for that scene to go by for me, and I felt weird. It took me out of the moment. You know what I mean?
I think they should I understand the reasoning behind it. I don't like it. I don't
Mhm.
like the choice of it at all. I think that you should have just called them Thunderbolts, but we find out, and I this must have something to do with reshoots, that they've completely removed the idea of General Ross out of Thunderbolts because of how bad Captain America did. And they made it about the soccer team.
Oh, so you're thinking they're trying to get away from that
Yes, or else
name?
I think they would have literally left the team called Thunderbolts. I think all of the scenes where they mention the soccer team are added later. I think the picture of the soccer team was added later. I think the that end scene was changed from them being called the Thunderbolts to New Avengers. And I think the reasoning is that the whole reasoning behind New Avengers, just as a general idea. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing that any of this is true, right? It just feels like that. Um, is because Valentina now controls the name Avengers. That's why they're called New Avengers. That's why Sam Wilson's is mad about it. But the reason
Hmm.
Sam Wilson can't do anything about it is because Bucky's part of it, and Bucky is legitimately part of the Avengers. So Sam Wilson is
Oh,
mad that there's
okay.
a team out there being controlled by an evil person called the Avengers, but can't really do anything to stop them because his friend and former Avenger is part of that team. So I think
Huh.
there's a lot of elements to that are in place to set up something.
Like a conflict or some major
Yeah,
conflict
to
between the
get some
two.
kind of conflict coming.
I mean, and that would be kind of good for the Captain America name to have that happen between these two, especially since you actually see the friendship develop just a bit more with them than you do actually with
Yeah.
Bucky and Steve. You know what I
Because they
mean?
talk about it in
That
that end
really,
credit scene, right? He talks about how he talked to Sam, and Sam doesn't care. He doesn't want them using the name Avengers.
yeah. That would be an interesting. I mean, the thing is, though, there's too many lines leading to stuff here. But if we're going into Secret Wars to reset things, then you're making way too many more loose ends. You
That's
got
what I'm saying, though.
to
That's like where this movie becomes sloppy for me. Once they got to New York, okay. First of all, the fight scene with Sentry is not good. The one
Mhm.
inside the building,
Yeah.
and from there it just became like a weird ham-fisted story about like mental illness, and it's so aggressive with that, and it's not
Hmm.
subtle at all. So it felt like you're force feeding me this thing, which I can understand because I'm not stupid. I knew
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
very beginning when you had the little commentary between uh Yelena and Bob that that's where this
Mhm.
storyline was going. And if you've
Yeah.
read
Yeah. You're
any of the
right.
Squadron Supreme comics, you know that that's what Sentry happens. Sentry splits into two characters. So the team is trying to figure out what who's causing all this disaster, like while they're sleeping or
Well,
whatever. And the whole time it's his other half. So he doesn't even know what's happening because it's when he's unconscious that the other half does things.
but so doesn't Sentry in the comic books, does Sentry use the balance between both the Shadow or the Void and himself?
Yes, and it becomes like there's more of a breakdown too of how they do it, right? Because if they have more comic books, you have more room to breathe.
Well, yeah, yeah, of course, yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's a good it's I thought a lot of the elements are really good. Like I said, I would say as far as the first half of the movie it goes, like 50% is fantastic. The first act is
Hmm. Yeah.
top best first acts ever in Marvel. It's definitely tied for it or it's up there.
And it
It's
goes by fast too. It's a
and
good
but
time spent.
that's what I'm saying. The movie, the way it builds, it goes by fast, but it feels like it's slow in a sense. And then when it gets to the ending and it just ends, you're thinking, okay, there must be like another 30 minutes to this movie. I was expecting
Mhm.
when they announced the new Avengers, you know how Yelena walks up to her,
Yeah.
right? And like whispers in her ear, like I own you now or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought she something was gonna happen there and she was gonna wake up and be back in the dream world and they haven't defeated him yet. And I was like, okay, this totally makes sense. And then, but when it
So
didn't happen, I was like, and then the credits came on. I was like, there's no way the movie's over.
so what do you think this means though? Do you think this means that Yelena, there's gonna be a conflict between her and I can never say her name, Julia Driver's character. I can never say the character's name. Very long
Valentina,
name. Anyway, yeah, Valentina. Yeah, just say
Valentina
Valentina.
Fonseca de Fontaine or whatever the hell it is. I don't even know what I don't know what her middle name is. I just made that up.
As D Fontaine, remember because she kept on
Oh, it's
saying
Valentina
yeah
Allegra
D
de Fontaine.
Fontaine.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, oh, I lost track of what I was gonna say
we don't
there
even
now.
get
Dang it.
proper resolve for that. There's so much effort in the put into the storyline of the court doing something to Valentina,
Hmm.
and then it just nothing happens in the end. You're telling me after
Yeah.
all the bad things she did just because she put together a super team, she's not liable to pay for any of her crimes anymore? Like, what the fuck? They just destroyed a huge chunk of the city.
And which is funny too, because all the people that are put there are like they're in the team, and the people that know like hidden lore, even with the Marvel, it's ironic because they're all criminals themselves. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And see, they've all done bad things, but yeah, a lot of them want redemption. She's the only one that's like, no, I just want to use you guys.
Four of them are literally criminals.
Yeah.
One of them
Hmm.
is like potential to destroy the whole world. And the other guy took a decade before people accepted him as being a hero.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, what's happening here? We're just like going to ignore all of this. Plus, like, she's being held against like crimes against humanity. That's what they're like trying to say for Valentina, but it's okay. We'll let it go because she created
Well,
this team of villains. Do you know what I mean? Like, and at this point, I understand that Yelena even is an assassin, but she already had a redemption arc in Black Widow and then in Hawkeye. She's
oh
already had
yeah,
a
right.
double redemption arc, but somehow still we had to go through another redemption arc for her in this movie. It's kind of weird.
Well, I don't know where it's going to lead, or I think this was just honestly, I don't think we're really going to see too much in-depth storyline with her anymore. I think at this point, that's what she was here for. And I know that sounds stupid, but here's the reason why. I think they're trying to do, like I said, with the whole idea of the battle world, is they're trying to, because people have been talking about Young Avengers, and they could just put it together and actually throw it in there, because they already have the cast for that. You know what I mean? They pretty much have the cast for that. And we already saw the scene with what's her name, in the other movie at the end with what's her name? Black Widow? Oh, not Black Widow, but
Yelena.
Hawkeye. Yeah, no,
Oh,
not Elena.
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop. Yeah, when you see her and Kate Bishop, um, that I forgot, that would all leads into the whole Young Avengers situation. So if you have each section, New Avengers, Young Avengers, you have the regular Avengers. We could even if we start doing multiverse, they can actually bring one in from another
Yeah,
universe,
you're
and that
gonna
could be
eventually have
Avengers
West
West
Coast
Coast.
Avengers for sure, which is
Exactly.
eventually that's what Hawkeye becomes. Kate Bishop joins West Coast Avengers.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
I,
what I'm saying, the same is that they already said we're going into Mutant Saga. That's literally what we're going into after Secret Wars. So what I feel like they're doing is trying to kind of clean up all the stuff they said they were planning on doing when it comes to all these Avengers together from different areas, and they're just doing the fast track of it. You know what I mean? Because remember they were going to do a series with stuff like a Younger Avengers series and have all this lead into it, but
well,
it's
you
just way too
established them
much.
all, right? You established Wiccan, and he's gonna get his
Hmm.
brother back. You have T'Challa's sister. I don't remember what the hell her name is. You have Kate Bishop, and you have Yelena. Is supposed to
Hmm.
be. Well, I guess you also have the kid. The guy, what Isaiah, whatever his grandson shows up in that. You know, in Captain America, not Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier, when
Yeah.
Isaiah Bradley they go to his house and his like grandson comes over into the backyard.
Oh,
He's supposed
yeah,
to be
yeah.
one of the Young Avengers.
Oh, really? Okay. And then there's also
Oh, the
there's
girl from
Ironheart too.
Ant-Man,
Oh yeah, and
Ant-Man's daughter.
you heard me what I said, Ironheart too.
Yeah, Ironheart. Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
her.
yeah. So that's all a lot of young Avengers. So you can
Yeah,
make that
except
group.
Haley Steinfeld's like 30 years old now. And
I
so
know,
is
I know.
so is what's her name? Not Caitlin Dever, Catherine Newton. Like you're getting into
Well,
like a weird place now where they're all like definitely not young Avengers anymore.
well, no one Marvel, they'll find a way to age of them or something like
Yeah, I
that.
mean
You know
they're
what I
not like
mean?
they look old. I'm just saying it's like
Yeah,
you Marvel loves to introduce things and then be like, what, we never did that. Um
yeah.
yeah, I think another uh oh, I already forgot what I was gonna say. It was something at the beginning of the movie. What happens at the oh, what did you think about Taskmaster?
Oh,
Did
I
that
was
not
actually
upset
happy.
you?
No,
But that's because you're
no.
sexist. Other than that, what you didn't.
No, it
I think
shocked
it
me.
was a
I'll
waste of
admit
a
it shocked.
character.
Yeah, it shocked me, but I think they were just using it as a way to, as because sometimes movies they want to have weight to it by saying people can die in it. I think she was that casualty. You know what I
They
mean? And
have in the trailers the video of them all sitting in the fucking
I know,
limo
I
with
know.
her in it. They have the pictures of them in the elevator with her in it, and then they
Yeah,
it was all fake.
yeah, I know, I know. Well, here's the thing. I didn't even realize it when she was gone. I was kind of happy. I know it sounds, you know what? Fine, say it sounds sexist, but just understand the point. I don't
Wow,
care. I'm going to say this. I don't
you are
care if it was a
sexy.
female. No, no, listen what I'm saying. I don't care if it was a female, okay? But let the characteristic of it be that kind of comic. You could have made it a female, but still have the characteristic of what he's like in the comic books. You know what I mean? The humor and everything. You know, they made it way too serious and sad for that character when that's not what he is. And I think that's why they did this. I think they killed him off to say, listen, we can go back to the drawing board one day down the road and everything like that. There's plenty of other characters that have passed with this character. You know what I mean? Deadpool, all that kind of stuff. We can come back to that well later on if we want to. You know what I mean? Right now, let's just go ahead and take this character out. And I think that's kind of what happened in the situation. I feel like it was a fanfare situation. They did it for the fans that were like upset at how it was set up. And again, I don't call it a female situation. I call it you're not giving me the character that I'm used to. And I like change
Yeah,
sometimes, but this was a little too much, damaging. Like I
yeah, it
felt
was a little
sorry
too
for
much
her. You know what I
woman
mean?
for you. I get it.
Anyway, yeah.
I'm just fucking with you, Putty. Yeah, overall I thought it was a good movie. It
Yeah.
is, but it had the
Yeah.
potential to literally be a top five Marvel movie.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the way I tried to explain it earlier, it's like Falcon and the Winter, oh, not Falcon, but like watching the second Captain America movie, and then all of a sudden, and you get this switch into, all right, Avengers, let's come together and do this kind of thing, group meeting to the staff,
Yeah.
and it's like that just took me out of it. You know what I
In
mean?
terms of Marvel project wise, I would rank this somewhere near, like, closer to the top, like 11th or 12th, between like Agatha and like Thor Ragnarok.
I can take that.
I
Yeah.
think that's how my list is. I don't remember. I'd have to look at it, but I think it would be like somewhere right around there, like close to not Black Panther, Spider-Man, No Way Home.
By
I
the
mean,
way, I want
Far
to
From
say
Home.
this because of this movie, I rewatched something. 'Cause when I was thinking about the
I
thing,
want
and
to
I told
rewatch
you the three.
Suicide Squad, honestly.
I do too. But I went back and watched Black Widow, and I gave Black Widow so much hate, and it wasn't that bad of a
Yeah, I
movie. It's
know. I don't
actually
know.
a decent
Nobody
movie.
knows why. I give it a 7.
Like it's a
It's a
decent movie.
serviceable action movie.
Yeah, it is. The thing that I'll admit, I know now what took me out of it and everything, and I sincerely feel bad, but I just it's not my I just forgot his name. Anyway, go ahead. That was a good uh mess up right there. But my point is this is a good movie. They did a great job. It's a step in the right direction for Marvel. It makes me excited for Fantastic Four because maybe they got their heads on now straight and they have good storyline that's coming in. You know what I mean? Maybe we're getting back to it. They realize we have James Gunn over, which by the way, I heard the early reviews of early screenings of the Superman movie aren't good. Apparently people do not like James Gunn's Superman.
Well, what I heard is that there haven't been early screenings yet, so that's a lie.
Well, then we have to get some do another video down the road and get Timmy on that.
We don't have Timmy today, so we're gonna have to
Yeah, I know,
wait.
JD. Yeah, exactly. JD's
Well,
not
we'll
here
see
with Timmy.
Superman when we see Superman. And
Yeah,
is there another Marvel movie this year? Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four. Yeah, yep. And I think that's it in the side of Disney. Is there a Star Wars movie coming out this year? I don't think so.
No, I don't think not Star Wars.
No,
There
the next one's
Andor's on right
Star.
now, which we will be reviewing that when it
Yeah.
finishes.
Um, no, Grogu and Mandalorian and Grogu don't come out till 2026, I think.
Yeah, I think that other movie's next year. Isn't there another Star Wars movie?
Yeah, that's the new one, the reboot kind of situation, or it continues from the other ones, but it's not about the Skywalkers anymore, which thank God they're getting away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they
Start a
got
new
to
story, make it interesting.
hold on. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see any updates here for anything. Anyways, either is stuff, but we'll figure it out when we get there.
Well,
Anyways, let's end this. Nicole,
okay,
say
I'll
what
tell
you
you
want.
this. I was just say the last thing I'll say is as far as movies coming down the road, I am doing Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know what else. I did watch Until Dawn and everything. Um, but yeah, that's the only movies I can think of. So when we get set down that road, we'll talk about it. But yeah,
All right.
this movie it's great. We're good.
Yeah, go watch it. Thank you guys for
All right.
watching. Let us know what you thought in the comments below and tell Putty